Qatar has decided to ban the sale of alcohol at all 8 of its World Cup stadiums less than 48 hours before the tournament starts. Here's the official statement from FIFA. Following discussion between host country authorities and FIFA, a decision has been made to focus the sale of alcoholic beverages on the FIFA Fan Festival, other fan destinations and licensed venues, removing sale points of beer from Qatar's FIFA World Cup 2022 stadium perimeters. So that has changed drastically from what the official World Cup fan guide previously stated. Where the FIFA World Cup stadiums are concerned, ticket holders will have access to Budweiser, Budweiser Zero, and Coca-Cola products within the stadium perimeter at the brand activation areas 3 hours prior to kickoff when the gates open and 1 hour after the final whistle. So Qatar, which is a Muslim country, prohibits the sale of alcohol. And they initially said that they were going to allow the sale of Budweiser, which is a World Cup sponsor, at the World Cup events. But now beer will only be sold at an official fan festival site in Doha, 6 miles away from the nearest stadium. Budweiser, who has a $75 million sponsorship with FIFA, tweeted this soon after the decision was announced. They said, well, this is awkward. They've
so good.
That's such a good tweet.
So good.
I don't know who's responsible for their marketing, but that was a good call. They've since deleted that tweet, unfortunately, because it was quite funny, not sure why. But it's important to note that in 2013, FIFA pressured the Brazilian government to allow beer sales in stadiums, which had been banned since 2003, so 10 years. However, this time FIFA is allowing Qatar to make the call. But the question remains, what does this mean for all of the other promises Qatar made about some changes to their norms and cultural regulations that they typically have for FIFA, having the World Cup starting there within a few days and announcing this 48 hours ahead of that happening? What other local laws and customs will affect visitors? I'm thinking a lot about Brittany Griner right now. Going into Russia, accidentally packing a little bit of weed juice for her weed vape pen that she didn't know was in there. There are all kinds of different norms and customs that you encounter when you're traveling internationally. There are a ton of athletes, there are a ton of fans going there. It's a huge moneymaker for them, and I'm sure people are gonna wanna party and celebrate and have a good time while they're there.
Look, having the World Cup at Qatar has always been absurd. It's never not been absurd. It's like 2,000 degrees there. And so they had to build all these different stadiums to account for the weather. They had to change it from the summer to the fall. And I kind of like having it in the fall. It's kind of a little different, but
the players don't.
Yeah, well, that's also another problem, which Ricky will get into. But overall, the main reason is because it's an oppressive government. So I know Qatar is an ally of America, so we don't talk about how oppressive Saudi Arabia is and Qatar is, but it is. And so look, you can't have both. You can't say, hey, I want to invite the whole world and I want to be open, but one of the biggest cultural markers of this sport, let's be honest, is drinking, okay? And the whole world drinks, but we're not gonna allow it. And by the way, if you're saying, well, the whole world doesn't drink, 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. Are you kidding me? Okay, most Muslims drink like fish. They drink all the time, okay? I remember in Turkey, they have this absurd thing where you're not supposed to drink at all. But the Turks made this weird compromise culturally. We don't drink during Ramadan, that's the holy month, right? But then we make up for it later. Right. That's not a thing, right? Because they wanna drink, right? So no, if you have the World Cup and Budweiser's a sponsor, you had to say yes to drinking. But why did they change the rules? Because they're an autocratic government, they're tyrannical. They change the rules to whatever the elites want all the time at the drop of a hat. Of course they were lying. And so I got no love for Qatar.
All right, so there's a lot to get to here. I'll try to condense as much as possible. First off, Jessica is correct, and it's a very important point that Brazil did change their own law. And I had friends there who also experienced this when they went in Brazil, that they were allowed to drink at stadiums. FIFA pressured them. It shows you now, although that was in the dying ages of Sepp Blatter being head of FIFA, which I'll get into in a moment, it shows the reach of FIFA and what they could do with a certain government depending on its location in the world. So knowing that Qatar didn't do that, this is, in my opinion, for the corporation of Anheuser-Busch, like a big deal. For me, Really not that much. How I view this is it opens the door for me to discuss how corruption has plagued FIFA for the longest of times. When Sepp Blatter took over, this was a humongous decision to gift the World Cup to Qatar. And then on top of that, in the years that followed, there was an investigation by the American government. The FIFA headquarters in Zurich was raided. Jack Warner, along with other very powerful executives at FIFA, were indicted. There were investigations. There were undercover journalists that went and met with former heads now of FIFA that admitted to bribery. Out of 34 votes, 16 of them were corrupted and voted for Qatar because they were bribed. And this all has to do with, in my opinion, going from Sepp Blatter, who was the head of FIFA, now it's Gianni Infantino, who has lived in Qatar for the last 3-ish years. He will say, it's because I want to make sure everything's okay. I want to make sure that Qatar is going to be the place that I want it to be for the World Cup. And I call bull on that. And the reason is, when he was asked about, allegedly, 6,500 migrant worker deaths that The Guardian reported on, he said, essentially, well, they should be happy that they had a place to work. He also made horrible comments about, this whole, sports unites everyone and football unites everyone. And even those that cross the sea, we need to play for it was just totally out of tune, not out of character, but out of touch. And that has been what this FIFA World Cup is. Totally out of touch with what the people want, giving into, as Cenk said, an autocratic nation. And on top of this, if you go on, although it could be dead by now, if you go on Twitter and search FIFA World Cup rooms, what will cost at least $300 is similar to what many critics are calling Fire Festival. It is absurdly bad, and yet this is what FIFA is giving us. It is corrupting the process over and over again, and they are shoving it in our faces. And for me and a few of my friends, we kind of have had it. I've watched the World Cup ever since I was a kid. I honestly don't know if I could stomach this one because of how corrupt it has been.
Yeah, my last thought on it is, here's a simple rule for the World Cup. Don't give the World Cup to any country that has a dictator. Like, you can call it monarchy, you can call it royalty, the Gulf Royals. No, they're dictators. And dictators do things like this. And they also bribe people. So, simple rule. And maybe that can encourage governments to go in the right direction.
And very quickly, I know that some, and even on 2IT Sports' videos have said, well, what about the human rights violations in America? It's like, yeah, we call that out too, you dingus. Like, this isn't just like, well, Qatar can't be bad because America has it bad and look at what the police are doing. It's like, yeah, we know. We get it. A human rights violation is a human rights violation. That's why we call it out repeatedly. We don't give favors to certain parts of the world just because of where they are.
Yeah, and just because America did something bad doesn't mean that Russia or Qatar or any other country can also do something bad or even something worse.
My big question here, which really has flown under the radar throughout this segment, is what is Budweiser Zero?
Non-alcoholic.
So then why is it banned?
That's a great question.
I actually read recently that it's not.
Well,
I read that they were going to put it up in place of where the actual alcoholic beverages were. Like the blue one, I think, is the non-alcoholic. The red one is the alcoholic one. So they were replacing, allegedly. I mean, this could all change by the time this clip is posted.
That's why they deleted the tweet. They were like, never mind, we'll still make some money. We'll delete that.
Well, I've never understood non-alcoholic beer anyway. I mean, what's the point?
Well, isn't it for people who suffered from alcoholism and want to partake?
Yeah, I could see that. That's a legitimate reason. But I think that a lot of people think that, oh yeah, I'm going to get the taste of alcohol. Really? Why do you want the taste of alcohol?
Well, what about, I mean, sorry, we're dragging this on. What about the taste of coffee, but you don't want to have the caffeine high? So what about having decaf?
John does that.
Yeah.
John does that?
John does that.
Not judging.
TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. We have decaf there too. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.